Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I'm working on a cover for my mid-month mini-mission tags. So this is where I have been creating my mid-month mini-missions for the Mission Inspiration Facebook group. And I'm going to create the cover for this tag set today. I have a tag cut out of the same chip paper. It's the backing to a pattern paper pad. And I'm going to cover it with this piece of green pattern paper with some liquid medium. I'm going to put a little bit of liquid medium on the front of my tag and smear it around with a brush. And then I will take this very exactly cut 4-inch wide piece of paper and try to align it perfectly onto my tag that is also 4 inches wide. I did not give myself any room for error when I trimmed out this paper. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have cut it at least 1/2 inch bigger, so I had a little bit of workable room there. But once I have that paper put down and it's all smoothed out and the corners and the edges are all adhered, I'm going to add a little bit of the liquid medium to the top of the paper as well. This kind of helps smooth out any wrinkles that have popped up. It also makes the paper non-porous in case I decide I need to have it be a non-porous surface. Then I'm going to heat set and make sure that this liquid medium is completely dry and trim down the edges of my tag. I did not trim the bottom down right away because when I get the back put on, I'm going to actually just cut it just a little bit off because it was a little wonky. I need to punch the hole in the top of my tag before I put the back on so that I know where the tag goes. And then I'm going to add the same pattern paper to the back, but this time I'm going to use this collage glue stick. The liquid medium was making the tag curl quite a bit, and so I'm going to use a different adhesive to try and pull that tag back straight. It worked, just, spoiler alert, it did work. The tag is laying straight on my desk now. I've decided this time as well to flip the paper over and add the tag down because I can see just a little bit better where it needs to align. You can see the front of the tag. There's a couple of places where the paper actually stuck to my work surface because of the gel medium or the liquid medium I'm using. Not a big deal. It's going to be covered up by collage, so no harm, no foul. Once I have the back adhered as well, I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to trim off the top of the tag again and make that nice and trim. And then I'm going to I thought about grabbing scissors or using my scissors rather. And then I realized that the bottom was uneven. I must have not had my paper straight or the cardstock straight when I cut the tag. So I'm going to trim that down with a paper trimmer because then it will be nice and straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and punch the hole through the back side of the tag as well. Once I have that all set down and it's dry, or trimmed down rather, and it's dry, I can add some ink to the edges. Oh my goodness, y'all, words are hard. Sorry. I'm still getting used to speaking clearly with braces in my mouth. Hey, I stopped spitting on people, so that's good. The top of the tag there was just a little bit, the paper was not trimmed down quite close enough. I'm going to add, this is potting soil archival ink. It just kind of hides the white core of the paper and the tag because I don't want to see that. And I'm going to do it on the back as well, just because I can, because it's my tag and I can. Now I'm moving on to collage. So I went through my ephemera drawer, or my ephemera drawers, multiple there, and I pulled out a couple of pieces of, like one's a postcard, one's a calendar, one's looks like a front of a book cover, and I decided they were a little bit large for this tag size. So I'm bringing in that trimmer again, and I'm going to trim everything down just a bit. Now this book cover I trimmed, or flyer or whatever it is, I trimmed it down just a tiny bit around the edge. I did want to keep initially I wanted to keep the entirety of that ephemera piece in place, The calendar is actually a 12-month calendar in 3 columns. So I'm going to trim that calendar into 3 separate pieces, because then I can kind of overlap it and not have it take up the entirety of the front of the tag. And the calendar was a very intentional choice of ephemera, because this is a monthly challenge. And the 3rd Saturday of every month, Mike gives us a prompt for a mini mission. And that is what my tags are this year. So I wanted, that calendar was very intentional. The other pieces of ephemera were just because I liked how they looked. I found some things that would stand up off the background of that green paper. And I'm just going to try and figure out how I want these collage together. Another spoiler alert, how I think I have it when I'm ready to put it together is not how it ends up at the end. Mostly because I'm indecisive and change my mind sometimes, but also because I'm afraid of over adding. I'm always in this edit mode when I am doing collages. Sometimes I edit too much, sometimes I don't edit enough. But anyway, the other pieces of collage are from this Paper Studio Flora and Fauna pack. It's all flowers, birds, and butterflies. And some of them have white edges and some of them don't. I selected this butterfly and this collage of flowers because they were yellows and blues, which are complementary to green, right? Because green comes in between yellow and blue, but they won't blend into the green background. And then I'm going to take my potting soil ink and go around the edges of all of my ephemera pieces to, again, hide that white core, kind of give it a little bit of an edge, make it work with the fact that around the edges of my tag does have that kind of ink blending, gives it a little bit of a vintage look. It's not super crisp and clean. Some of my tags are vintagey, some are crisp and clean, some are hot collage messes. The one I created for the mid-month mini mission in June, it was what it was. We'll just call it that. It was what it was. So they're not all ink blended and made to look a little bit vintage, but I think it's okay for what I'm using on my tag today. Also, it hides the insides because all of this ephemera is printed on white paper. So it hides the fact that you have cut apart a piece of white paper, which works for me because I find that distracting. Now, you know, to each their own. Other people may not find that distracting. I find it distracting. Anyway, once I have all of the edges ink blended, I am going to go back through and reestablish where I want my collage pieces to be. And this is when I realized that that first piece, the one that says nests and eggs, doesn't really go with what I have going on because I have a butterfly, not a bird. So I decided to take that out, put the calendar pieces up on the top, add that postcard and the floral collage, and then put the butterfly kind of at the top. It did end up covering up the postage stamp on that postcard, but that's okay because I have another plan that I have other things I'm going to add to this tag. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere these with that same liquid medium, trying to remember where I'm putting all of my ephemera pieces because I did not take a picture. I did not take a picture of how I had it laid out. So I'm counting on my brain to remember those things. Probably not the safest choice, but it worked. The ephemera pieces are a little bit thicker than the pattern paper I put down, so there's not as great a risk of wrinkling or buckling in the paper, so that works for me. I don't have to worry about that too much. I'm just going to go ahead and keep adding all of my ephemera pieces back on with the liquid medium. They're thick enough that they don't wrinkle, but that thickness does kind of also create a less than flat piece when I'm done, which I'm totally okay with. It creates some dimension and some texture, and I like how it turned out. The floral piece, the floral collage, I'm going to stick right down here at the bottom underneath that postcard with the parrot on it, which I suppose that's how come I thought that the birds and nest, or the nest and eggs card would fit because there's a parrot on that postcard, but It's all right. You have to edit. Was it Coco Chanel that said once you get dressed and ready to leave, take off the last thing you put on? Edit your accessories. I'm editing my ephemera. Once I have all of the pieces down on the front of my tag, I'm going to go back over it with clear gesso. I think I mentioned that already about needing to make it not sticky, and that liquid medium, because it's a gloss medium, does make, because I live in a humid area, it does make things sticky. So I think I said that already today, but just in case you didn't hear it, or I said it in my mind and not out loud, because that's a real thing. Again, that butterfly ended up covering up the parrot and the postage stamp on the postcard. So I'm going to add some washi tape. I selected 2 rolls of tape. The first one is a roll of washi tape that is all faux stamps. There's no way to, cheat and pretend that you thought they were real stamps, because they have odd postage amounts on them, but also it's washi tape. The first stamp on this roll happens to be a yellow flower. So I'm going to put it right here at the top of the bottom of the postcard, so I don't cover up the butterfly wings. I did contemplate putting it up top where the postage stamp had been on that piece of ephemera, but I didn't want to cover up the butterfly, at least not yet. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that up with some more of that liquid adhesive, because that washi tape's not going to stick forever. I tore a piece off of that yellow washi tape, and there wasn't really any place that I wanted to put it, so I edited that part out. And now I'm going to cover the entire tag with this clear medium. It goes on not clear, so it looks white, it looks thick and clumpy against the edges of my ephemera, and it probably seems like it's taking out all the vibrancy of the colors in those flowers and the butterfly. But once I have it all applied and I've got the gloppy parts cleaned up with the edge of my brush, and I heat set that with my heat tool, or when I dry it with my heat tool, I can't think of right words today, sorry. That vibrancy will come back, and it does dry clear. And it has a slight texture to it, but nothing extreme. All right, so we're going to go ahead and heat set that, and you can see as the gesso dries, all those blues and yellows come right back. Okay, I've got my heat tool all put away, and I'm just rubbing my hands up and down it, making sure there are no wet spots of the gesso still. I did decide I wanted to add a little bit more ink to that edge. It felt like it had kind of disappeared on me. I'm just going to go around it. I'm not adding any more ink to my ink sponge, just kind of using whatever ink is left in it. I'm not trying to get it super dark, just fill in the places that feel like they're a little bit less than. Now it's time to add some dimension. I have a watercolor pencil and a water brush. This is a light brown, and I'm just going around all of the edges of the ephemera. I'm zooming through this because this probably was the longest part of the video, other than figuring out exactly how all those pieces were going to go on. But I'm just adding a little bit of pigment with the pencil and then going around it with a water brush. Not a ton of water. It is still paper. Even with the gesso on it, it is still paper. I'm just going around it, making sure that each piece of the collage looks like it is independent and yet still part of the collage at the same time. I love this look. I'm even taking this watercolor pencil around the individual objects of that flower collage that was already assembled in the ephemera pack that I picked up. Just to kind of add some shadow and dimension, and I think that really makes it pop off of the page. I'm not doing super detailed. I'm going around the edges of the leaves, the edges of the petals, and it kind of pops. It makes it look a little bit more, I don't know, like I collaged it together as opposed to it was printed that way and cut out, right? All right. For my title on the cover of my tag journal, I've printed 2 little labels with my label machine. One says Mission Inspiration. The other one says Mid-Month Mini Missions. I did not add a year to this. Oh, I just realized that. I might have to make another label that has the 2023 year. Just signing and dating it at the bottom so that I know when I did it. And I love how it turned out. This is one of those collages that I think just landed. It was perfect. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I have a couple other videos here I think you will enjoy. I've added that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and have a really fabulous day.